by becoming rich. Take all your money, buy Bitcoin. I say when we sell.
Wake up every morning and say GM.
GM. GM. Today's Sunday. It is the 11th of August. All right. This actually, because Sunday not much happens in the markets, this is actually something good to talk about. Someone asked me about a way to trade gaps. So when the gap starts to fill, expect the gap to fill. Right? So the way that looks here is price comes up, it leaves a gap. So when it's at this point here, right, you have a gap. You can see that. From this candle, you have a gap up, and then so all of this is the gap, right? That's the inefficiency. That's where price moved in one direction with no retracement. Also, you got gaps down here, and of course, remember that we come back and fill all those later on. But first, you fill the sort of intermediate gap, you would call it. So you wait until the gap starts to fill. This gap's not filling, and when it starts to fill, it means a candle close inside this area. So you can combine that with your regular market structure. And once you start to see candle closes, these are wicks, there's the close. Now, when you have that one, once it starts to fill, and prices try to go higher and fail, you expect it to fill fully. So then what you do is, you would go to a lower time frame, and you would trade it that way. So you have your target, right? Your target is down there, bottom of the gap. And then you look at your lower time frame to find entries. You can see there's retests, it pushes back up slightly, and then it comes down. And you could use the bands as well. And you could trade it down in that direction. It hugs the bands all the way down into the gap fill. So that was just complete fucking side note. Just happened to be I opened that and I was explaining that to a student last night. If anyone has any questions on that, let me know. About gaps specifically. That will be one of the price behavior is going to be one of the next weekend workshops. And actually, I should really shill the weekend workshop now because this video will get deleted today. If you didn't see yesterday's weekend workshop, check it out right now. It's gone after today. So, but I'm going to be doing every weekend, every Saturday stream is going to be a weekend workshop. We did day trading last week. We did combining concepts yesterday. Really good feedback on that lesson. I think people found it very useful. So if you haven't seen it, definitely watch it. And looking at inefficiencies, I'm going to talk all about the psychology and mindset behind these gaps and inefficiencies, how to trade them, how to fill them, price behavior, what it means on next week's or the week after. I've got a few good ideas. Also, if you have ideas for weekend workshops, let me know. Just like daily lessons, I get my ideas for the daily lessons from you guys, from questions, right, for a lot of the things. So if you have any ideas, let me know. Right, back to Bitcoin. So, Sunday, we tried, so Saturday closed really nice. Saturday was just exactly what you want to see. Quiet, sideways, consolidation. Sunday started off with a pump there this morning at about 9 a.m. UTC. Took out the highs. Like nothing about this is anything other than completely normal. If you remember, on Friday I talked about the daily open. Friday's daily open was here and it was untested. So we opened on Friday, the tiny wick higher, see there? And then just down. Down. And so that level was always going to come up and get tested. You just don't get a free short off Friday's daily open like that. It's just not going to happen. So it grinds up, didn't touch it on Saturday morning, Friday evening, and then eventually we touched it off there. Now though, the problem is, because that grabs some liquidity, traps some traders, we can now flush in the opposite direction. I don't think it will go very deep, but you have to watch and be aware that interim levels are breaking, right? The interim low here is going to break. Now it's 52 minutes. So we've just opened the hourly candle. It hasn't happened yet, but that interim low is probably going to break, which also is kind of you call it a swing low as well, but really the swing low is here. The level that matters in terms of a continuation down will be this level. But if that level's breaking, you have to watch out. Early signs of a potential reversal. And I wouldn't be overly concerned because it's a weekend, but at the same time, it tried to go up, failed, rejected, back down. So where are we at in context of the 4 hour? We're all right. 4 hour bands look fine. 4 hour swing level here. All of that is okay. If this ends up being the most volatile part of the weekend, I mean, look at last weekend. This was Saturday. This was Sunday. So if that ends up being the most volatile part of this weekend, that's really good. That's a real sign that people are not panicking, freaking out about the fucking Japanese yen or recessions or all this other stuff. So overall, pretty good. Pretty good. So all it did was took out some highs. I expect it just takes out some lows. In fact, if I get into a super low time frame, I think that, yeah, I really think that all we did was just fill in a couple of inefficiencies. Right, so it came back into this little breakout area that wasn't retested. So we came back and tested that. It broke away, didn't test it properly a couple of days ago. And on the way up, it just came up into this area here and retested some of those breakdown points, took stops. If this move happened midweek, I would say there's probably more to read into it, but I really just think that this is grab liquidity this side, flush out the longs this side, and we probably come up, try to go back down, and end up back here, going into the end of the week. I don't think that there's too much to be worried about. This is the daily open, by the way, 60.9. So really, closing anywhere, it doesn't have to close green, right? You're looking at the daily, like, it doesn't have to close green. It can close red, that's fine. As long as it closes around this level today, I think that's totally fine. Also, the weekly, we're coming up to the week. I'll do weekly outlook later, 4 p.m. ETC, do it live. But the weekly close is, I mean, it's going to be green. Almost certainly going to be green. I don't think we're going to drop down to 58. But also, it's almost certainly going to close below the bands. So you kind of have this, you kind of have a conflicting signal where a big reversal, like hammer candle, green, is decent. But also, it's closing below the bands and you need to, exercise a little bit of caution. We are kind of mid-month, so it's to me, it's a little bit early to look at the monthly, but you can see same thing, big long wick on the low end of the monthly, coming back up, and we'll see how that goes today. 4 hour chart, always important to remember this. Look at your 4 hour trend. It is still bearish. So when you see these rejections, reactions lower, don't forget that yes, we're in an uptrend, right? Since the lows, we're in an uptrend, but overall, the 50 is below the 100, below the 200. That's one really easy way of seeing what the primary trend is. So the difference of look at this consolidation, right? The difference of this consolidation over here, any of these times where price pulled back, is we were in a 4 hour uptrend. So every time you drop, what are you dropping into? You're dropping into trend support. So any of these drops drop into 50, 100, 200 in order. So people are going to buy them. That's how trends work, right? In here as well. And obviously we briefly lost the trend here, but then trend reclaimed, same thing. We have the opposite now. So there's less reason to buy. When it pulls back, there's going to be people who say, well, I'm not going to buy because the 4 hour trend is actually down. When that flips, and usually it will spend some time in here, if it flips above, and the 50, 100, 200 get across, where the 50 goes above, the 100 goes under, the 200 goes under, that is where your all systems go. Still a little bit away from that. I want to look at the weekend though. I want to compare Bitcoin to Total 3 just to see what's been. See if alts have been moving more or not. I don't suspect that they have. I suspect that it's pretty similar. I think it is. Right. 1 hour. Yeah. Almost identical. Almost identical. So Bitcoin moving up like that. Total 3 up off the lows. Bitcoin, when it was just coming up to a double top, Total 3 was breaking out. A little bit of strength there, but then Bitcoin had a stronger push up into the highs. I'll just drag this down. Both sold off the same. Both sideways the same. Ah, yeah. There you go. Total 3. Swept the highs. Total 3. Touched its highs. Bitcoin didn't. So yeah, you've had alts have ran more this weekend. So makes sense. Makes complete sense why we rejected. So you're going to see coins like Sol probably has made a new high. No? ETH, I don't think. ETH definitely hasn't. Oh. Double top. So it must be some of the lower caps that are making new highs on their... Interesting. I wonder what coins it is. I'd assume it'd be Pepe Whiff. No? Oh my god, it must be the real shit coins, is it? Which coins is it? Ah, oh god, it is. It's Cardano. Okay. Shit. Because you're having the real trash making new highs. XRP, by the way, really nice. Really nice inefficiency fill. The pivot, though, excuse me, lost my voice nearly. There's a long-term pivot on XRP there, but if you remember, I talked the other day about whenever XRP pumped, you want to see it moving back down to fill the gap, excuse me. When, just like I said at the start of this video, when a coin starts to fill the gap, expect it to fill. So I expect this to fully fill. I expect it to step down, step down, step down, step down. Now, the path won't always go like that. So be on the outlook for something like this, where it tries to go lower, squeezes really hard, and does that. Right, where it takes the lows, people short it, it squeezes up, grabs some stops. But step, 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 step. It's filling inefficiencies, right? It's filled here, so it's retested. There is still an inefficiency above, one small one here. The price is not retested. However, it's looking pretty efficient so far on the way down. There's one above here. I think that XRP actually represents a really good trade for filling the gap. But you need to have a system, right? Especially with something like Ripple. It's very volatile. It can pump like crazy. It will fill this at some point. But you have to prepare for all eventualities. There is also a world in which it doesn't go down right away. It goes up, and it fills it later. You have to be aware of these things. And that's why you use proper risk management, right? So, anyway. So what else is going on? Like, why is Total 3 made new highs? Total 3's made new highs. And... wow. Okay. Alright. Doge is breaking out. Bonk's not. SHIB is breaking out. Okay. I don't really know how to think about this now, because you're seeing a lot of... You're basically seeing a bunch of shit coins. Like oh my god. You're seeing the shit coins all having failed breakouts on the weekend. So they all have tried to break above and failing. Oh my god. It's proper shit as well. BNB's fine. Sand, though, is like a proper shit coin. Graph. That's interesting. That's really interesting. So we're seeing like total dog shit really outperforming. That's not good. There's no other way to view this other than in a negative sense. Like, it's really hard. It's hard to view this in any, like Algorand. Nobody buys Algorand. I can guarantee you one thing. No one's buying fucking Algorand. So this is just... The problem with this is the big three, Bitcoin, ETH, and Sol, have not pushed higher, and they're now pushing lower. And you see, not even like the big altcoins beyond that. It's the proper trash is doing failed breakouts. I would say normally that's not a good sign. Now, when I say it's not a good sign, I would be looking just at a potential move lower into support, right? So let's keep it simple. What was one of those fucking shit coins I just did? Cardano? So Cardano has failed to break out at these highs. Where will it go next? Well, your first support is going to be like there, right? That was support before the drop, resistance, resistance, flips it, support. So And remember, what did you just see? So when I scrolled through those charts, what did you notice most? Everything's super correlated, right? Everything looks almost the same. And this is why you can take assumptions from the other coins and apply them to the market broadly. Because if Cardano goes to here, the rest of the market will drop. Not because the market looks at Cardano, but because Cardano is correlated to the market. So, I mean, it doesn't look that bad. Like overall, as long as it's currently still here and it's just above this support level, it doesn't look that bad. But I would actually be watching some of these shitcoins more than I would normally watch them. And you'll notice the daily open, right? All of these, like almost all of these shitcoins are pumped off the daily open and are still above it. Whereas Bitcoin, not that one, Bitcoin's below, right? Bitcoin's daily open is there, and we're slightly below it. So I think the market has taken the opportunity to squeeze some of these coins on the weekend. It makes sense, logically. It's a low liquidity environment. It's easier to squeeze them. It's easier to push them to an area where stops get triggered, like the highs. And there's probably 20 or 30% of the normal liquidity that there would be on a Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday when you're on the weekend. And that's all that's happened. Like, this isn't like a big, bearish sign of we're going to 40k Bitcoin. But it is definitely a sign that all coins have outperformed. For whatever reason, that's usually a sign of a pullback incoming. So I would go back and look at Bitcoin, and I would look at what has it done over the weekend. It's taken out it's taken some stops up above. It's left behind some inefficiencies, so Bitcoin can definitely bounce. Can definitely bounce to there. It could bounce to here. But also, it's filled in that gap. There's no gaps. There's not really much in the way of downside. The next you're looking at is where the blue line is, but also 58.3, the old pivot. Those are two levels. So you don't want to see Bitcoin going there, obviously. It'd be better if it held this trend structure up here. And I would say definitely keep a close eye on it today. Saturday was quiet as expected. I mentioned in trading analysis that Saturday pretty much was just going to trade, sideways, and it did. Sunday is where it starts to pick back up again. And we've already seen this. We've already seen more movement in Sunday than we did in anything on Saturday. So keep an eye on that, and keep an eye on alts versus BTC. And hopefully you'll see Bitcoin moving back into a outperformance mode. You probably would have seen Bitcoin dominance then drop. It probably dropped a little bit this weekend. Yeah. Now, the long run trend of BTCD is super strong. And maybe all this is that Bitcoin dominance has been up only for several weeks, and it's just having a regular pullback. And if that's happening on the weekend, good, because Bitcoin's less traded on the weekends. Altcoins are easier to move. So that's if I'm trying to, make the bullish case. But I also have a rule in my process. Anytime you see altcoins outperform Bitcoin, be cautious. So that would probably be the takeaway from this video. GM. See you later. Weekly outlook, 4 p.m. UTC. GM.